This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so Parsha, this week we have a double Parsha, Nitzavim, Vayelech, and we'll touch upon a little bit of both. Page 1086, Nitzavim is Perek Chavtet, chapter 29, Pasuk Tet, verse 9. Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem Lifnei Hashem Elokeichem. You are standing, Hayom, today. Kulchem, all of you before Hashem your God. Rashechem, Shiptechem, Ziknechem, Shotrechem, Kol Ish Yisrael. Your leaders of the tribes, the elders, the officers, all men of Israel. Tapchem, the children, the Shechem, your wives. Gercha, Asher Bekar Mechanecha, the ger, the proselyte who's in the midst of your camp. From those chopping wood, those drawing water. Hashem Elokecha, to bring you into the covenant of Hashem your God. So the commentators all explain, we're at the end of Devarim. I think we already have a covenant going over here, right? What is this covenant? Good morning, Linda. What is this covenant now that's happening? And the commentators explain that this is a Brit of Arvut, a covenant of co-responsibility. We all know the famous phrase, Kol Yisroel Arevim Zelazeh, all of Israel. And Arev actually is the term, is a legal term for a guarantor. I'm borrowing money, the bank's not so willing to lend it to me, so I ask one of you fine people to please sign on the loan. If you're not too wise, you might actually do that, right? Right? And at that point, right, you have guaranteed the loan. If I don't pay it, then it is your responsibility. And this is the guarantee of arvut, that we are taking responsibility. It's not enough for me to do my thing. I have responsibility for others also. And if you're lacking, so then I am lacking. And this actually has, we mentioned this before, this has halachic ramifications. In that, let's say I made kiddush, as example is usually given. I made kiddush already, and then someone comes into the social hall and they haven't heard kiddush, and they don't know how to make kiddush. I can make kiddush again. How can I make kiddush again? Or Rosh Hashanah is coming up, so a person, I already heard shofar, I already blew shofar. Someone else needs to hear the shofar. I'll make the bracha again for them. How can I make the bracha again at Kiddush? How can I make the blessing, the bracha again by blowing shofar if I've already fulfilled my mitzvah? Isn't that a bracha levatala? Isn't that a blessing in vain? If I already did my mitzvah, how can I make a bracha again, a blessing again? And the halacha is that no, I do make Kiddush again and again and again. And I make the blessings of shofar again and again and again. Because if any person has not yet fulfilled their mitzvah, there's something lacking in my fulfillment. Because of this brit of arvut, because of this covenant of arvut, of co-responsibility, therefore, it's not that, hey, I'm good, everyone else, whatever. No, we are all in this together. The Slonim Rebbe in the Siva Sholem brings an interesting idea. Right? Well, Rashi first brings, what's this idea you're standing today? So the last Parsha, Kitavo, had the horrific, painful tochacha. Tochacha is the rebuke of that which will befall us if we break this covenant. And it's horrific. Actually, the custom in many shuls is that the Baal Koreh reads that, the Torah reader reads that in a softer voice and in a much faster way, because it's just so painful. So Rashi brings an explanation. Atem nitzavim hayom, right? Don't get discouraged. You're all standing here today. We've been through quite a bit here in the Midbar, right? But you are standing here today. And all of those horrific things that were mentioned in the previous Parsha, All of those things are only there to, as he puts it over here, mekayemim etchem umatzivin etchem lefanav. Right? They're there to keep us going, to keep the nation going. The Slonim Rebbe says, Atem Nitzavim Hayom. Hayom, today, you're standing before Hashem, your God. This, he says, is a hint. On what day is it that we all are standing before Hashem, your God? That is on Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah is the day that we are all standing before Hashem. Roshechem, Shiftechem, Ziknechem, from the most powerful to the most simple, and everyone in between. We're all standing before Hashem. And we're going to list the entire nation. So why then does it say, Kulchem, all of you? See, he says, this is the key as to how we will stand firmly, confidently, proudly before Hashem on Rosh Hashanah. What is the key to that? Kulchem. When we are all together. When we are a person who is involved in one another, taking care of the other person, concerned for the other person, when we're not living in our own little cocoon, but we are involved, helping, doing what we can to connect to one another. That is how, when are we Nitzavim? Hayom, when are we standing straight, proud, confident? When we are part of the Kulchem, when we are part of the all of you. And we know Rabbi Akiva says, Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, ze klal gadol b'Torah. When the pasuk says, the verse says, you should love your neighbor as yourself. That is the klal gadol b'Torah. That is the great rule of the Torah, because that's what it's all about. When we are there, not just simply for ourselves, but we are there connecting to, helping others. That is what the Torah is all about, and that is how we get to choose life. Ubacharta b'chayim, that we get to choose life. So the judgment on that day is very much predicated on how much of a kulchem am I? How much of an all of you all am I? Am I standing alone or am I connected? I just want to share, I shared this before, but it's just such a beautiful teaching from the Baal Shem Tov. On one hand, we have a teaching that we're judged on Rosh Hashanah, right? That's what Rosh Hashanah is, a Yom Hadin, a day of judgment. The Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah tells us that 4 times a year that the world is judged, and on Rosh Hashanah, all the people of the world pass before Hashem, kivnei maron, like these sheep going before Hashem. There's another teaching that we are judged every day. There's a judgment every day. So how does one understand the daily judgment vis-a-vis the Rosh Hashanah judgment? So a beautiful teaching from the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov relates that he was walking along one day and he came across Chaikel, the water carrier. And he says, Chaikel, how you doing? And Chaikel says, Rebbe, here I am. I'm an old man already, and I'm still schlepping the water up and down the hill to this person, to that person. I don't see any way. I'm just scraping by every day. If I don't work, I don't eat. I don't feed my family, and I'm getting older, and it's getting harder and harder and harder. Ay! And he plods off with his water barrels on his shoulders. A few weeks later, the Baal Shem Tov's outside walking, and he sees Chaikel, the water carrier. Chaikel, how you doing? Rebbe, everything is great. Life is so good. Thank God, I'm an older man. I still have the ability, I still have the strength to work. I don't have to ask anyone else for anything. I don't have to borrow money. I don't have to ask for money. I'm able to work every day. I have the strength to do this, and I get to feed my family, support my family. Thank God. Everything is wonderful. Thank you for asking, Rabbi. And the Baal Shem Tov turned to his Talmidim and he said, now I understand that strange Gemara, which says that we're judged on Rosh Hashanah and we're judged every day. So which one is it? And he said, on Rosh Hashanah, we're judged as to what will be our lot that year, what will unfold that year. And every day we judge, how will I be with what I have? Will I be sameach b'chelki? Will I be happy with what I have? Or will I be depressed with what I have? That's our judgment that we decide every day, right? And the teaching, Ezehu Ashir, Pirkei Avot, who is the wealthy person? Hasameach, not one who is satisfied, one who is happy. B'chelko. Chelko means a chelek, right? It's always going to be a portion, a percentage of what could be, of what I might have hoped, of what I might have imagined. It's always going to be a chelek, a portion, and a person can either be ecstatic with what they have, a person can be depressed with what they have. And we make that judgment. So we make the judgment, and then Hashem judges us also on what is our attitude about each day that we have. Okay, so that's a little bit of Rosh Hashanah as we have touched upon in this parsha. Let's go though to I'm going to summon my inner Tuvia Singer. Tuvia Singer has an ability to quote verses, chapter this, verse that. He's quoting from Mark and Luke and Corinthian and books I never even really heard of, right? I don't do that, and I'm not very good at quoting even in our Torah. Oh, that's in Exodus 27:12, right? But this I know. This is in Deuteronomy 36. And the way that I remember that is 36 is a very holy number, right? In Judaism, right? On Hanukkah we light 36 candles. Why does the box have 44? The shamish, right? The extra shamish, but the actual Hanukkah candles are is it factorial? What's it called? 8 plus 7 plus 6 plus 5. Is that called factorial?
That would just be an arithmetic sum.
But 8 plus 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 4, 3, 2, 1, right, gives us our 36, right? And there's a teaching, there are 36 tzaddikim, righteous people in the world, right? And we won't know about them until exactly who's who, right? So let's go to 36. And here is where, according to Ramban, well, actually, we'll get there first. Let's see chapter 30. So page 1090, Perek Lamed. V'haya, and it will be. Ki yavo alecha kol hadvarim ha'eleh. When all of these things will come, page 1090, Perek Lamed, chapter 30, verse 1. When all these things will come upon you, ha-bracha v'ha-klala, the blessings and the curses, asher natatim that I've placed before you, v'ha-shevota el levavecha, and you're going to take this to your heart, b'chol hagoyim, amongst all the nations, asher hidicha Hashem l'kacha shama, that God has scattered you out to there, v'shavata, then you will return ad Hashem elokecha, until Hashem your God, to Hashem your God. V'shamata v'kolo, you will listen, heed His voice. K'chol asher anochi mitzad chayom, like all that I'm commanding you today, Moshe says. Ata, you, v'anecha, your children, v'chol levavecha, v'chol nafshecha, with all your heart and all your soul. V'shav Hashem elokecha et shavutcha v'richamecha. God will then bring back your captivity, v'richamecha, and he will have compassion on you, v'shav, and he will return, v'kibetzcha, and will gather you, mikol ha'amim, from all the nations, asher efitzcha Hashem Elokecha shama, that God has scattered you out to there. Im yeh nidachacha, if your scattered ones will be b'ktzei hashamayim, at the edges of the heavens. Misham yikabetzcha Hashem Elokecha, from there he will gather you. Umisham yikachecha, and from there he will take you. Ve'aviacha Hashem Elokecha, interesting, he will gather you and take you. There are some who'll just have to gather. There are others who have to be taken, extricated. Ve'aviacha Hashem Elokecha, and God will bring you el haaretz, to the land, asher yarshu avotecha, that your fathers had inherited, v'yirishta, and you will inherit it. Ve'tivcha v'yirvecha me'avotecha, and he'll do good to you and make you more numerous than your fathers. Before we get to 36, the next pasuk, just an important teaching on pasuk Gimel, verse 3. V'shav Hashem Elokecha et shavutcha. Such a powerful teaching, famous teaching. Now, grammatically, if God is going to bring you back, it would have said V'heshiv Hashem et shavutcha. V'heshiv is acting upon something else. God will bring you back. It doesn't say V'heshiv et shavutcha. God will bring you back. It says V'shav. V'shav is God himself will return. So is it Vishav? Is it right? But it says God will return your captivity. Right? The English says God will bring back your captivity. But that really would have been Veheshiv. Vashav is that God will return. Rashi brings the famous teaching, Kaviyachol. It seems to be saying, Shahashchina Shruya im Yisroel Bitzarat Galutam, that the divine presence is there with us in the tzara, in the anguish of our galut, of our exile. And therefore it's not simply Veheshiv, God will bring us back. God will return along with us. This idea of Shchinta Begaluta, the divine presence is also in this exile with us. And therefore, there is this idea of Imo Anochi B'Tzara, that wherever we are in a state of tzara, of anguish, Hashem is right there along with us. Vishav Hashem Elokecha, God himself will return along with us. But let's look at Pasuk Vav, verse 6. Umal Hashem Elokecha, God will then mal, right? Brit milah, right? God will circumcise, as the English puts it. Yeah. God will circumcise et levavcha, your heart, ve'et levav zarecha, and the hearts of your children. The Targum, right? We have actually a Targum over here. That's the Unclus over here. If you look at the Targum, this Aramaic translation, it says, V'yadei Hashem Elokach yat tafshut libach, the foolishness, the stupidity of your heart. God will circumcise your heart and the hearts of your children. La'ava, to love Hashem your God with all your heart and with all of your soul. Laman chayecha, for the sake of your life that you may live. So what is this circumcision of the heart? What is this removal or circumcision of the heart? And here we have the Ramban, one of the great classic thinkers, commentaries of Judaism. And Ramban is a very foundational, his perush, his explanation on the Torah is considered to be of the most foundational things to go through. And this one is one of the foundations of the foundations. And he writes as follows. Zeu sha'amra, Hashem will circumcise your heart. That's what it says. The Talmud says, Habala taher Messianoto. The person wants to become purified, then Hashem helps. Mavtichacha, this is a guarantee. Shetashuv elav b'chol levavcha, if you return to God with all your heart, v'hu ya'azor otcha, He will help you. So when we make the effort of Pasuk Gimel of verse 3, we will return to Hashem, what will happen? Hashem will help us along the way. Famous teaching of the Talmud, Habal l'taher, the person wants to become tahor, purified. Messianoto, the person gets helped. Habal l'tameh, the person wants to make himself impure. He won't get pushed. But potchinlo, opportunities will be opened, but you won't get pushed. If you want to come tahor, you'll be helped. But then he goes, v'nireh, and also it appears minaktuvim inyan zeh shomer. Right, the following is also alluded to in this verse, and this is a description of the world as it was, the world as it is, the world as it will be when Mashiach, when Messiah comes. That's what this pasuk is describing. Let's hear how he understands that. Kibizmana bria, from the time of creation, hayta reshut biyad adam. Every human being has their choice. La'asot kirtsono, to do as they wish. Tzaddik o rasha, everyone can choose their path. Everyone decides what they want to do. I'll just digress for a moment. There's a beautiful teaching from the Vilna Gaon on Megillat Esther, on the book of Esther about the Purim story. And the Vilna Gaon understands the Purim story, besides the actual story that happened, it actually is a mashal, a parable of life, of the soul's entry of this world and that which it is confronted with. And you have the body, you have the soul, and Olam Hazeh, this world is Achashverosh's party. That's what Achashverosh's party represents, this world. And it says over there that the people in charge of the party, everyone could drink as much as they want. Ein ones, no one is forced. Hikein Yisad HaMelech, that's what was ordained by the king. Lasot kirtzon ish v'ish, the pasuk says, to do the will of man and man. By simple meaning that Achashverosh's party, no one was forced. Whatever you want to eat, drink, you do. You do the will of each and every person does what they want. He told those in charge of the party not to force. The Gemara there says, ish and ish, man and man. Let's see, who in the Megillah is referred to as an ish? Mordechai, ish Yehudi hayah b'Shushan Abira, Shmo Mordechai ben Yair b'Shem Akish. Right, Mordechai is an ish. Who else is called an ish? Achashverosh says to Esther at the second party, Mi uzeh ve'ezahu, who's trying to hurt you? She says, ish. Star, Voyev, Haman, Hara, Hazeh, a man, enemy, terrible, this evil Haman. So two people are referred to as an Ish in the Megillah, Mordechai and Haman. So simple level of the pasuk, the Gemara now says, who was in charge of the party? Achashverosh's officers. Which two? Mordechai and Haman. And they were commanded not to force anybody to drink. Everyone does as they do. Perhaps Mordechai offered to be at this party to help the Jewish people there, not to eat what they should and to not eat what they shouldn't. Who knows? The Vilna Gaon says no. Not no, but on another level. The Melech, the king ordained, in this world, no one should get forced. He commands all those officers to do the ratzon of ish v'ish. Mordechai and Haman, meaning, if you want to be a Mordechai, okay. You want to be a Haman, okay. It's your choice. In Olam Hazeh, in this world, no one is forced. Everyone has the choice. Everyone makes a decision. Am I going to be tzaddik? Am I going to be a Mordechai? Am I going to go the other direction? That's a choice that we're constantly making with all of our decisions. Which way do we want to go? So going back to the Ramban, he says, from the time of creation, there was no one Everyone can decide. Reshut biyad adam. Everyone has permission, the volition, the choice to do what he wants. Tzaddik or Rasha. The kol zman haTorah came, and that's what lasts throughout the period known as Zman haTorah, the time of the Torah. That's where we are right now. Kedei she'yeh lehem zechut. That way we have merit. B'vchiratam b'tov. When we choose that which is good, then we get changed. V'onesh b'shatam hara. And responsibility, culpability, if we make bad decisions. Aval yimot HaMashiach, he says. But during the time of Mashiach, tia b'chira b'tov lahem teva. At that point, choosing good will be the natural thing. Why would right? Does anybody want to eat poison? Does anybody want to jump into a fire? So why would I want to do something that's spiritually harmful? At that point, the bechira, the choice of tov, will be teva. Teva is instinct, natural. Lo yitavel lahem alev lemash eino ra'ui v'lo yachbotz bo klal. The heart's not going to desire that which is not ra'ui, not fitting, and will not want it at all. V'hi hamila, and that, he says, is the hamilah, the circumcision, haniskeret kan, that's mentioned here. Ki achemda v'hatava, these lustful desires and wants, arla lelev, they are this uncircumcised aspect of the heart. Umul halev, and the circumcision of the heart, hu shelo yachmo v'lo yitav, not to have these desires, wants, lustful, perverse desires and wants. The Yashuva Adam Bismanahu, and humankind will return at that point. La Asher Haya Kodem Chet'o Shel Adam Harishon, as it was prior to the sin of Adam and Eve. She'osa b'tivo masharoy lasot, where naturally it was the natural thing to do that which was proper to do. And he didn't have this ritzono davar v'hefcho, this inner struggle. I want it, but I don't want it. I want this, and I want the opposite. Right? Not to have that constant struggle that we contend with. This Yetzer Hara. And that's what it says in Yirmiyahu, the prophet Yirmiyahu. Hinei yamim bayim nu'um Hashem. Behold, days are coming. V'charati et Beth Yisroel v'et Yehuda brit chadasha. And I'll make with the house of Israel and the house of Judah a new covenant. Lo kubrit asher karati tabatam. Not like the covenant I made with their fathers. Ki zota brit asher achrot et Beth Yisrael achrei yamim hahem natati et toratai b'kirbam. The new covenant, my Torah will be in their midst. Va'al libam akatvena, and I will write that Torah on their hearts. V'zehu bitul yetzer hara, that is the nullification of our desire to do bad. V'asot haleiv b'tivo, and the heart will naturally do ma'aseyu hara'ui, the proper actions. And that's why it says, Vayitilem le'elokim, I will be to them as a God, they'll be to me as an Am, as a nation. V'lo yilmadu od ish et re'ehu v'ish et achiv, and there will no longer be any teaching of a person of his friend, a person his brother. Lamor saying, do it Hashem, you should know Hashem. Ki kulam yadu oti, everyone will know me. L'mikatanam v'ad gedolam, from small to big. Uviyadua, and it's known ki yetzelev adam ram and rav tzrichim lo'amedotam. Right? We know that children need to be taught. We have our inclinations even from youth. That yetzer, that those lustful wants and desires that pull us will become nullified. And that's what Yechezkel says, the prophet Ezekiel, Ratati lachem leiv chadash, v'ruach chadasha. I'll give you a new heart and a new spirit that came bechem in your midst. V'asiti et asher b'chukai teilechu. I will make it that my ordinances, that's what you want to do. Va'alev chadash yumoz l'tivo. Okay. And that's what our sages say will come to time, asher tomar ein li bahem chayfetz. That I won't have these desires. Elu yemot HaMashiach. That's the time of Mashiach. She'ein behem lo zechut v'lo chova. But the downside of it is that there is no personal growth. There is no challenges that I overcome and that I become transformed as a result of those decisions that I make. There will not be any zechut, any merit or chova, right? Right? Then we're not going to have desires that we're overcoming. Right? After 120 years, am I going to get rewarded for, hey, you breathe, Ciner, you did a great job of breathing, right? Wow, you deserve a lot of reward for breathing. Wow, your heart kept beating. Let's give Ciner lots of reward because his heart kept beating. Okay, that's happening naturally. That's not something that I'm going to that I did. That's not something that I worked towards. Lefikach ema lo zechut v'lo chova ki azchut v'achova tluyim b'chefetz. Zechut, merit, chova, responsibility, culpability, tluyim is all dependent b'chefetz, on desire, on want, on making those decisions, right? Kathy, we discussed yesterday in our Chovos Havavos class, when the pasuk says "Na'aseh Adam," let us make man. What's that referring to? So Rashi brings the angels, etc., but the Bali Musar, Rav Tversky, others say together. Let us make man. Who makes man? Hashem and me makes me. Hashem and David makes David, and Miri, and Ruti, and Cheryl. Each one of us partner with Hashem in making ourselves, and we make ourselves via the decisions that we make, the paths that we choose, the things that we do. That is how we make ourselves. So according to Ramban, this 36 in Deuteronomy, right, Perek Lamed, Pasuk Vav, is talking about giving us a beautiful description of what this Arla Halev, what is the uncircumcised heart, what is the circumcision of the heart, and what is the point that we will get to, that the world will get to, and until then, we have our work cut out for us, as we certainly see with all that's going on. Yes, Cheryl.
You mentioned that we wouldn't have growth in the future, but I'm thinking of a different kind of growth, like if you're an architect, let's say, or a farmer, or something that you're doing that you really enjoy, you're going to maybe learn more and get better and better at it.
Yeah, excellent point. Right? It's the stage that a person moves to upon death. So that's on an individual level. That is what the world will move to during the time of Mashiach. In other words, yes. In other words, just like now, right? We have our doubts, we have our struggles, right? And when a person reaches the end of their physical life, they move on to the spiritual realm. At that point, there is the satisfaction of what we have done, and there is the spiritual connection, delight, right? The way that the Talmud describes it is tzaddikim sit v'kitroteim v'rosheim with their crowns on their heads, v'nenim, and are drawing this pleasure, meziv hashchina, from the glow of Hashem's divine presence. So there is growth there. There's growth at that point in our closeness to Hashem, in our understanding of the wonders of Hashem, the wonders of the world. There is this incredible growth, but it's not the growth that we have of should I or shouldn't I? I really want to say that. It's a very funny line. Oh, but someone's going to get embarrassed. right? That there's the growth that we have from those struggles, and then there is this spiritual growth. And that's what the world will have. It will no longer have the growth, the struggles that we're having now, zuchut. Oh, you didn't eat that. Oh, you didn't say that. Oh, you didn't look at that. Oh, you didn't, right? We're not going to have that growth. We're going to have, as you said, right, this, right, an artist, whatever, this greater connection, understanding to and of Hashem. Yes, Miri. Everyone who merits to, everyone who's supposed to be there will be there. I'm not making the call. I'm not making the call. Yes, David.
In another place in the Torah, I can't cite chapter and verse either. We are commanded to circumcise our hearts, which tells me that we have permission to try to do it ourselves. As a rabbi, can you suggest ways that we might try to do that ourselves? And I understand the promise that Hashem will do it for me, but since Hashem is going to do it for me, let me take it up and I'll do it myself.
Okay. So how do we circumcise our own hearts? So there are times that we have to do things that a number of things, right? Right. If I want to be careful about what I eat, right? So I don't bring entomins into the house, right? In other words, right? I know myself when it is a test of wills, right? And Natalie's not going to eat it, so, and it's me and her in the house. So when it's a test of wills, it's a matter of time until I do. So the best thing for me, I know, is not to have it around. So if there are certain things that a person knows that they often stumble with, right? So try to create an environment where, to the best of one's ability, I don't have to deal with it. It's not at arm's length all the time, and then I decide what to do, right? You know, I often will start looking at different news items, things like that, on YouTube to see different things, and then I end up going down the rabbit hole and wasting a lot of time on nonsense, and it's geared towards that, right? It's geared towards that. So personally, during the month of Elul, I'm not watching anything, even news items on YouTube. I'm not going there at all, right? Because I know once I go, right, then you know, a good thing to do is to do our best to not put ourselves into those situations, right? And if when they do come our way, so then it'll be easier to deal with it. But don't put ourselves into those situations where we know that we struggle, right? There are lots of wonderful books to read which speak about, you know, Jewish and non-Jewish, which speak about, you know, being, you know, how to be in control of oneself. We are in Judaism. We have a treasure trove of books that deal with Musar and Hashkafa. You have incredible things. You have, you know, in the original Hebrew, you also have more contemporary from a Rabbi Sachs and a Rabbi Twersky, both of blessed memory. There's incredible resources. You know, so sometimes we say, you know, in sports, you say the best defense is a good offense, right? You know, so you want to defend yourself against the bad decisions. Get yourself involved in the good stuff, right? In the good stuff. That's just a couple of ideas that come to mind. Yes, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Did Hashem circumcise Pharaoh's heart?
Clearly not.
No, but in a different way.
Meaning?
That he cemented his desires.
Yeah, so he didn't circumcise his heart. Well, different ways of looking at it. He hardened his heart. He fattened his heart. He strengthened his heart. Right? But Paro was an example where the simple meaning we can touch upon again when we're almost at the end and we start again, right? When we round those parshiot. But the most simple understanding is that a person has a choice when it's a challenge for that person. There's certain things that are not meant to be as a challenge. It's meant to be as a repercussion of previous choices that one made. And the simple understanding by the Pharaoh, by Paro, and the plagues in Egypt is that at a certain point he had his chances. Now it's coming as a repercussion. It's no longer coming as a decision being presented to see which way he would go. Yes.
I'm just also connected to what Cheryl said, because I'm thinking maybe Malach Levavecha means also like
Maybe what? I'm sorry?
Malach Levavecha.
Yeah.
Take the free choice, because the person does not have free choice, he naturally doing everything good. So the same thing that she's thinking about, and I'm thinking too, is that he didn't have a free choice because he had to
Okay.
do what Hashem.
Okay. Yeah. So I hear what you're saying. So in the same, right? It's the flip side of Ma'al Levavecha. Right? Whereas we're saying the circumcising of the heart is taking away the inclination for bad, by Paro, the inclination for good was closed down. So if that's what you mean, yes, then it's yeah.
But I know that that term was used with somebody. I thought it was power in the Chumash.
It doesn't come to mind, but I am not I'm in no way encyclopedic to say if it doesn't come to mind. No, it's not there. I that's not me.
People will just do good naturally, and
We said I'm correct. That's how he's describing it. Yeah.
Why didn't he just start out like that?
Why didn't he just start out like that? So the answer to that is, as we understand the purpose of creation, right? In other words, right? We had this. Where did we just have this? Yeah, we touched upon this yesterday in Chovos Halevavos. We had this idea. So, well, why does Hashem send us into this world, right? Our belief, our understanding is that we were in a spiritual state, right? In the Olam HaNishamot, right? And it's all blissful over there. We know Kol HaTorah Kula. We know the entire Torah, which means, as I understand it, we have absolute clarity in terms of what we're about, what this world's about, what Hashem's about. So why does Hashem send us down over here? And the reason is because over there, we're not making any decisions. We're like a malach, we're like angels. We see Hashem in front of us, so of course we're living in that spiritual realm. But that does not afford the opportunity for any personal growth, for na'aseh adam. Let us make humankind. Let us make ourselves. Let us build ourselves. And it's only by coming down into this world where we have our decisions and we forget it all when we enter this world, and now we have to reconstruct it ourselves and make good decisions and choose to become as godly as we can. Our understanding is via the mitzvot. That is what brings godliness into ourselves, into this world. So then by making decisions and changing, that is how, when we return after 20 years, we can enter a higher level than we were able to had we not gone through the time we spent here. So the same way that the human being, a person, has where they start, come down to this world, an opportunity to go even beyond, so too the world has its opportunity, and then it reaches its end point. So I said before, the coming of Mashiach is like the transition of the world from pre-Mashiach to post-Mashiach, or Mashiach time is like the transition of a person from their lifetime here to the spiritual realm once the body is no longer alive. So to make it just like that, so that Ramchal discusses, right? That Mesilas Yesharim asks that question, right? So why do we have this world at all? If God's purpose is to allow us to connect to Him, so just have us connect to Him. Why go through this world? And he says that God only wanted to give the greatest good. The greatest good is this connection to Him, and that can only be truly appreciated if a person has made it their own. If they become the Ba'alim, as he calls it, the owner of it. Right? We all know, I think it's human nature, that which we get for nothing is not something that we truly value. We want, right? If we work towards it, we value it. If it lands on our plate, then it's not something that we connect to, that we can truly enjoy. If this presence to God is the greatest pleasure that God wanted to give, in order for us to have that pleasure, we need to have earned it. We need to have done in order to receive that. And that, Ramchal explains, that's why we are all here. That's the purpose why we are here.
So does this earning strengthen and increase our connection and maybe even deepen our ahava for Hashem?
So, yeah, perhaps earning is not even the best word, right? We do these actions which make us more godly as we're living here. And then when we leave this physical world, then it's just a continuation, right, of who and what we are, right? It's not, I did this, now I'm going to get that bounty. No, that's what I am. That's what I've become, for good or for worse. That's what I've become. And then I always like to quote the Beatles from the end of the Abbey Road. What's it called? The medley, right? And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make, right? In other words, what we make ourselves into, that's what we take, right? It's equal to, that's exactly what we take. So it's not this you get a year-end bonus. No, that's what you have become. But you can only, come back to Cheryl's point, you can only become that when you become that, when you are making decisions and you are choosing a path. And that's what becomes who and what you are. Let's just touch upon, this is quite a mouthful, I know, but this Ramban is so important. Double Parsha, Vayelech, which is on page 1094, chapter Lamed Aleph, Perek Lamed Aleph, chapter 31. Vayelech Moshe, and Moshe went. Vayidaber kol dvarim elo kodesh, and he spoke all these words to the children of Israel, and he said to them, B'meya v'sim shana nochi hayom, I am 120 years old today. Moshe was born on Zayin Adar, and Moshe passed away on Zayin Adar. Once again, going back to Purim for a moment, when Haman was drawing the lots to decide which should be the month for the extermination of the Jewish people, annihilation of Jewish people, right? When it came out in the month of Adar, he said, "Oh, this is great. This is a great sign, because that's when the Jews lost their great leader." What he didn't know was that's when the Jewish great leader was born, right? So 120 years old today. Lo chal od latzeit v'lavo, and I'm no longer able. Not, Rashi explains, not in a physical sense, but I'm no longer sanctioned. I'm no longer given the authority to lead. Right? It's going to be handed over to Yoshua. Another explanation, Rashi says, the divrei Torah. I can't go out and come in words of Torah anymore. Milamed, we learn shenistimu mimenu misorot ma'inot hachachma. Those fountains of wisdom, of Torah understanding that Moshe had, they closed up on that day, right? And therefore Hashem says, right, he says, Hashem will lead you, Yoshua, etc., etc. But a very interesting teaching. Vayelech Moshe, and Moshe went. Okay, and he spoke these things. Where did he go? Vayelech Moshe, and Moshe went. No one says where he went. The pasuk doesn't say where he went. So Ramban, the Orach Chaim, or the Ramban says, right, he went to bid farewell to the people. He went to bid farewell, right? The Orach Chaim says on a Kabbalistic level, Vayelech Moshe, Moshe went, meaning we are a double person. We are a physical person and a spiritual person that are together in our lifetime. As we hear even from secular books, many cases, right, life after life, like Dr. Moody, that when a person dies, they have these near-death experiences. They feel themselves lifting off of themselves, right? That is the separation of the body and the soul. And he says, and both of those have our name, right? Elsewhere he says that our parents had prophecy at some point. When they gave us our name, the name they gave us was the name of our says something very interesting. He says Moshe went to Beit Ulfana. He went to the Beit Midrash. He went to the study house to study, to learn. And an interesting idea that comes from that. Moshe had been Moshe. He had been the very fountain of all the Torah knowledge that existed, right? And now, as Rashi said, everything closed up for him. So what did he do? So he went to learn as a simple person. In other words, there are times that we have, times in life that we are motivated and we're feeling it and it's great and it's so, I love coming to shul, I love davening, I love doing the mitzvot. There are times we say, oh, right, well, we are running on empty, as the song goes, right? When we're not feeling that, or we're not feeling that inspiration, right? And the avoda of a person is, right? We can't control the different, ups and downs that we all experience, but wherever we are, we need to do our best in whatever situation we are in. So we had Moshe being the Moshe, the conduit of the entire Torah, the conduit of Hashem's teachings to us. And then when Moshe is the simple man, the last day of his life over here, when he felt those fountains, those well springs of Torah closing inside of him, so what did he do? He went to study as a simple man. And we too have our ups and downs, and wherever we are, at whatever stage we might be in on any given day or any given moment of any given day, we need to do our best to understand that is who we are as human beings, ups and downs, and we do our best. We do our very, very best. The example they give, baseball, we're rounding the postseason in baseball, in Major League Baseball, right? The greatest of the hitters is batting 3-something. Whoa, which means He gets out 2 out of every 3 times he comes to the plate. He walks back to the dugout. He got out. But he gets on one out of every 3. He's amazing. This guy's incredible. And that's the human endeavor. That's going back to Ramban. When we are still in this time of confusion, we're going to win some, we're going to lose some. We're going to be inspired. We're going to be very, very bland and uninspired at different times. And our avoda is to do the best that we can at all times. But like we started also, that when we are kulchem, sometimes when we are plugged into others, that helps give us. I remember one year going into Shavuos, I was just so exhausted and so tired and just feeling so empty. And I said to myself, how am I going to not just stay up the whole night, but try to infuse energy into all those who are staying up with me the whole night? And I found that night it was amazing. Once I was here and I had to do for others, all of a sudden this energy, came up inside of me. And I think, going back to your question also, David, I think that, how is it that we get ourselves to a milat lev, to a circumcised? What do? Well, you get involved with others, doing for others, helping others. That's part of the offense. Best defense is a good offense. Get into that, and that way we should all be Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem on Rosh Hashanah. We should all be able to stand proud, and the whole nation should have a bracha of a blessing, a year of peace, of tranquility, of success, of hostages will be released, and everyone return home to the north, to the south, and a time of Umacha Hashem, as Dima Milev Kol Adam. Hashem will wipe off the tears from Me'al Kol Panim, from everyone's face. We should have a time of Geula and Yeshua, a time of redemption, and all that comes with that. Okay, my friend. Okay, everybody. And next week we're still on. How's Ciner? Yeah. Oh, nice.
Hazina?
Nice.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're very welcome. Be well.